Hello, everybody. My name is Jim Farmer. I'm the festival director of Out on Film, Atlanta's LGBTQ film festival. This is our 38th year representing stories from artists around the world. I'm particularly happy because when I started doing this 17 years ago, we didn't have a whole lot of filmmakers in the area. Now we have hundreds and thousands of filmmakers. It's such a delight every year to see the work that's coming out of this area. And I'm so proud to be here. And I'm so proud of the work that you all are doing. So thank you. Um, the program we're talking about today is called Local Lens Atlanta Shorts, screening Sunday, October 5th at 2:30 at Outfront Theater Company. It's going to be an amazing program. We'll have a lot of filmmakers there. So I'm going to let our filmmakers go around the Zoom room and introduce themselves, and then we'll jump into some questions. I'm going to start with Brandon.
Oh, hey, I am Brandon Deyette. I am an Atlanta filmmaker, although I have been around a lot of places. I've lived in New York, Miami, LA, all that stuff, but came back to Atlanta. This film, Kitty, is very, very close to and dear to my heart. It is about unhoused youth.
Mhm.
It is actually slightly based upon my own personal life and what happened. And in fact, right before I had this conversation, I was speaking with my mother about this, and I said, "Hey, Mom, I'm a little nervous about talking about this in front of people because it's going to, make situations in our family look kind of bad." And she goes, "Absolutely not, Brandon. We made it past this. We forgave each other. We worked past this. We learned. And it's movies like yours and the shorts that are happening here that are really going to change the perception of these parents like me. Like I didn't have that stuff before I kicked you out. And
Mhm.
now you're making movies for those parents, for those kids to let them know that they're not alone anymore." So.
Great. All right. Emma Jean.
Hi, I'm Emma Jean Scott. I'm an Atlanta filmmaker. I just graduated from college this year, so I'm up and coming in the film scene. Thank you. And I'm really excited to be a part of Out on Film and meet some really cool people, especially more local filmmakers. I directed and wrote Juliette, which is about a young girl confessing her love through a poetry reading. And it is a reflection of things that I felt when I was a lot younger, especially figuring out your sexuality. There's a lot of these feelings that you can't quite place, love for people that you can't quite have, and things that you can't quite say. And for me, saying things through film and through dialogue of other people is a lot easier. And I think for this character, it's reflecting how easy it is to say it through poetry and not through real words. So that's Juliette, and I'm really, really excited to be here.
Great. Chad.
Hello, I'm Chad Zemmel. Similar to you, Brandon, I've spent a lot of time all over the US. I'm currently based in Los Angeles, but I've spent most of my life in Atlanta and consider Atlanta my home more than anything. Most of my friends are still in Atlanta, and so I'm excited to be back for about a week to spend some time with them and see some amazing films and connect with local Atlanta filmmakers like you, Emma. And so my film Muse is about a withdrawn teenager that searches for inner peace at a desert meditation center only to be paired with a picture-perfect roommate, dealing with a lot of themes of isolation, loneliness, and similar to you, Brandon, very personal story. This is pulled directly from my life as a teenager, and I wanted to share something more personal and I'm very nervous as well. Finally putting this out there. This is our world premiere. So thank you so much again, Jim, for the honor.
We're very, very excited. Christina.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kristina Arjona. I'm the director and producer of What Friends Are For. I'm also based in Atlanta. I work in a couple different markets, but I'm always happy to be home. This piece, I'm also, yeah, director, intimacy coordinator, mental health coordinator. And so this piece came to me. It is about a queer individual realizing they have vaginismus, which is a health condition that a lot of people don't talk about, which is like the muscles in the vagina kind of closing up. And her best friend kind of trying to help her figure out how to handle this. So it's about queer friendship. It's funny and heartfelt. And I really love getting to explore intimacy stories in a way that is like kind. And we don't get to see a lot of sapphic friendship in this way. So it's actually based on the real life experiences of our writer and one of our stars. So really happy to kind of normalize the conversation around this in a way that is fun and accessible.
Great. I'm so excited for this program. Can you all talk about Atlanta as a place right now for queer filmmakers? I'll let whoever wants to start can start.
I'm going to raise my hand.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, I was away until right before the pandemic happened, and the pandemic actually forced me to be in Atlanta and stay. So since then, I've really started reaching out to the community, and my dear Lord, we have so many amazingly talented queer people,
Yeah.
filmmakers in Atlanta, and it's not even just filmmakers, just creative artists in general.
Mhm.
It is just a great community. I think that a lot of people feel like Atlanta is oversaturated when it comes to the film market, but that is just not true at this moment. We definitely do need more creative people. We need more people that have networks outside of Atlanta to make sure that our films, even though they might be popular here, to make sure that they make it outside of this area. Because again, literally Atlanta's the best. I'm sorry. No offense.
It is.
I agree
It
with you.
is.
I think we all agree. So we know.
I think so. Um, I'll raise my hand too. I think as an upcoming professional, hopefully, in filmmaking in Atlanta, I think the biggest thing that drew me to living in Atlanta rather than making that big move after college to New York or LA or somewhere bigger was the community that Atlanta offers. I think that the people, especially in creative spaces and queer spaces, are so welcoming and so friendly and are truly there for the love of the craft, and they want to help you find your spark and find your passion and find the lane that you can be the most creative in. And when you're all there to help lift each other up, it's good for everybody.
Yeah, I'll jump off that too. I'm a big fan of the Queer Film Alliance that goes throughout the year as well. And IO in particular is also in my film, but just the continued support throughout the year has been so lovely and wonderful, and the accessibility of it. And then it's like, okay, now it's out on film time, and it sort of feels like a celebration of like the community we've built throughout the year or continued to support throughout the year. So I just think that there's, yeah, such an accessibility of support for the queer community within Atlanta that I really appreciate.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in really quickly and add on to that because Kristina actually, I went to a Queer Film Alliance meeting, saw Kristina there. We just were chatting because we already knew each other,
Yeah.
but then she recommended me my DP. And that's how I hired the DP for Kitty was through Queer Film Alliance.
Nice. That's great.
Oh.
I mean, I'm so proud of the work that Ayo and Ava and Leo have done this year. It's been extraordinary just watching Griffin Alliance just take off and just be
Mhm.
so strong. Chad, did you want to say
Yeah,
anything?
the only thing I wanted to add is I've worked on a couple of documentaries in Atlanta with some of the original Atlanta Pride Parade founders, and one of the things that they brought up over and over again is the Pride Parade in Atlanta is one of the very first ones in the U.S. And one of the reasons for it is because Atlanta became, from that moment on, a hub for the South. So people from South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, they would come to Atlanta as this central hub, a place that they could feel safe. It's sort of like a safe haven city. And I think we're even seeing that now with what's happening in Florida, removing the rainbow crosswalks. Atlanta is standing firm to keep the crosswalks. I think we're still seeing it now that Atlanta is that safe haven city for queer people in the South.
I got chills if you can see that. Seriously, you hit the nail on the head.
I think it's just so wonderful because when I went to UGA, University of Georgia, like when dinosaurs were roaming. I mean, there was a radio, TV, film department. What really wasn't even film, it was just video. So but nowadays, I mean, there's Georgia Film Academy. There's so much going on here. Yet people from Los Angeles moving here, and I think it's great. Emma Jean, you mentioned that you're choosing to live. I think it's great that filmmakers can live here and still have it all. I mean, have their professional career, have their personal lives, not have to relocate and can stay here. And I think it's so great that a lot of filmmakers are able to sort of have Atlanta, even though they travel, have Atlanta as their hub. I think that's amazing. But anyway, switching gears, I want to ask you all about this. All of your films are really distinguished by strong characters. They're all very character driven. Can you talk about the challenges of creating rich characters like you all have done in a fairly compressed amount of time? I'm going to pick on somebody. I'm going to pick on Chad.
Yeah, I'll take this first. I think honestly one of the first things that came out is similar to Brandon, that this is such a personal film. I think one of the things I've learned as a director, especially making more and more personal projects, is just is a big passion of mine. Speaking from the heart, I think one of the things I've learned as I've come along is you create this character, you spend months or years building and coming up with this idea and going through rewrites and finding the right cast member. What I found is when you get to set, the most important thing is you put all the time and energy up front in rehearsal and talking with them and casting and building this world, letting go of the reins. I think it's one of the hardest things to do, but letting go of the reins and allowing the actor to breathe new life into that character in a way you couldn't imagine. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges and one of the things that I've gotten better with over the years. And I think Charlie, who plays basically my character, his name in this film is Finn.
Mhm.
Um, I think he brought something really special and unique, and his heart is massive, and I feel his heart pounding through the screen. So
Great.
yeah.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, Brandon, I can repeat the question. I think I just forgot the question. No, we were talking about
Character driven. Yeah.
creating all of your films are very character based. Can you talk about the challenge of creating characters in a fairly compressed amount of time?
Yeah. I mean, I have an unfair advantage. Mine is a piece of a feature film. So those
Yeah.
characters were already really well developed. But when I started crafting the script in the beginning, AJ was the main character.
Yeah.
Not so much both Baby Girl and AJ. And what ended up happening was I kept hearing Baby Girl's voice coming through.
Mhm.
And I realized that one, she was a Black trans woman, and two, I am not. So at that point in time, I actually contacted a friend of mine who is also a writer. Her name is Emmy Morgan. And I said, girl, I'm writing this script and I know her voice. I can hear her. She's very much based upon my best friend, Letha, who was a well-known drag queen in Athens and in Atlanta back in the day, RIP. She passed away in 2003. So I already kind of had that foundation, but then bringing Emmy in, she brought in more of a Black experience and what it's like for a Black trans woman in America today. Also making sure the terminology was utilized correctly. So it became this kind of like, I don't know, this thing that we created together to give this woman her own authentic voice.
Okay.
I love that. And I'd say for me as a director, I'm really drawn to pieces that don't have a lot of locations or many actors so that we can really like what's the meat of this story and like how do we get to know each other. So yeah, our film is two locations, a bedroom and a bathroom and two characters. And so we really get to spend time with them. And again, in the writing of the script, was very personal for my writer about having this experience of vaginismus and like not having access to healthcare. How do we kind of just wander through this ourselves with our friends and figuring things out? And we actually decided to have them switch characters. So they're not playing the character that has that experience. They're the character that's offering support. And so what does it feel like to get to offer that like encouragement and care to another actor playing that role? And so it was really lovely to kind of develop that and explore that with my two really incredible actors. So I was very lucky that the script was already so heartfelt and we could really kind of just lean in and focus on their connection.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing for me is focusing on the richness of the relationships between characters.
Mhm.
Because I think, especially when you're working in such a compressed time, having fully fleshed out individual characters is excellent. But what really thrives is how they interact with each other, especially when the focus of the short is on love. And something I really love to do is take as much dialogue out of a film as I can. If I could make silent films forever, that might be a real possibility. But I decided that the only dialogue would be the poem and the announcement that she's going to be reading the poem. So it was really important to me was to create a relationship between these two girls that could be conveyed with a look and that the poem would simply underscore and enhance. And so finding two actors that can be comfortable and really give an authentic perspective to that experience is super important to creating a richer character.
All right, final question. Can you talk about the importance of having queer themes in your work, especially at such a daunting time we're facing right now, where people are literally trying to, erase us, pretend like we don't exist? Why is it so important for you to tell queer stories?
I think that at the very baseline, having a representation of yourself in any sense of the word is extremely important. And to hearken to something, I'm a graphic designer in my day job, and in marketing, a big thing is visibility, visibility, visibility. Like as many times as you can put something out into somebody's face, the better it is. And I think as somebody who grew up without representation of queer people in media, it took me a really long time to figure out that that was even an option. I read a graphic novel called Drama, and that was the first time that I saw queer characters in a book. I finished the book and I ran to my mom and I was like, is this real? Like, is this an actual thing that I can do? And it was the first time I'd ever realized it. And I think just a sheer increase of volume of queer representation in characters and filmmakers and screenwriting and books is important.
Okay.
I can kind of build off of. I have a story from set that I think might relate to this question. So we shot this film over inauguration weekend in January on a large ranch out in the middle of nowhere in California. And I'll never forget when the cast and crew and I were eating breakfast with the ranchers while Trump was being sworn into office. The ranchers were quite vocal Trump supporters. They had Project 2025 binders and Trump flags all over the property, and they were setting off fireworks. They were having a good time. Whereas we, the cast and crew, we were telling an intimate queer story in their old bunkhouse. And so it was a reminder to me that we can still sit at the same table today, and it's really up to us to keep fighting for that right. So yeah.
Brandon, Kristina, do y'all have anything to add to this?
Yes, hold on once.
Okay.
I'll go first.
We'll let Kristina go next. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I think it's so incredibly important that we're here. And I know like any panel or anything that I'm on, I'm always very vocal about being a queer Latina. And like I see so many people in the audience like just the representation is so crucial. And on our project, we were also like, I mean, it sounds like a lot of these, but like predominantly queer in the crew as well. And like the community of building that both in front and behind the lens is so crucial. And something for us too is like seeing queer joy, seeing like valuing queer friendship, especially between two AFAB, more femme presenting individuals is like not something I see enough. And but we have such incredibly deep connections and friendships and care and like what is the different levels of romance and intimacy and like intimacy between friends. I'm really been excited. We've just had like, this is our hometown screening, so we're very excited. But it's been just really lovely to see what it's meant to people to just feel a deep friend connection in this way and like the importance of queer individuals being there to help each other when we're having tough times, and that we can get through it together is very crucial in our story and just crucial in life. And so um, yeah, I hope it encourages our audience to keep fighting.
I'm going to literally echo everything that you just said and add on to it because Throughout history, we can look at art has always been a refuge and has always been there as a way to speak out during authoritarian regimes, fascism, and all of that. Right now, we cannot be silent. This is the one time that we have to be the most vocal. As a cisgendered white man, I have to acknowledge that privilege because I can slip underneath the radar. And I hate that. I hate saying that. And there are so many people that can't. Kristina, you can't hide. You can't hide who you are. People just can't. And right now, we have to be way more vocal out there and unafraid of what the consequences could be of speaking out the way that we are. It is super duper important. The echoing part from Kristina is we really don't get to see joy, queer joy, on screen. And even though Kitty deals with some really heavy topics, sex work, homelessness, drugs, et cetera, et cetera. At the core of it, it is a love story between two friends. We never really get to see in cinema the way that two queer people can fall in love with each other just as friends in a millisecond, especially those that have been discarded. And it's important that we continue telling these stories and variations of these stories because sometimes it takes a while for you to be able to connect with somebody on the screen and say, oh my God, for the first time, I see myself. And that hasn't happened for a lot of people. So we have to continue to make these stories. And the last thing that I want to say is we have to continue making these stories because of people like my mother. When I came out, the only thing that she knew about gay people was that they died of AIDS. Because that's the only representation that she had ever seen. Grew up Catholic, the church was telling her one thing. And me bringing her into the fold and letting her see this life and become a part of it. I mean, she's a P-flag mom. She's just a huge champion for rights and everything. And it's her encouraging me every day saying, Brandon, you've got to go out there and keep fighting because you got to fight to make sure that that mom out there gets to see this so that they know that they have to love their child. And that's why I'm going to keep doing it.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right, the program is Local Lens, Atlanta Shorts. It screens Sunday, October 5th at 2:30 at Outfront. They'll have a brief streaming window. Emma Jean, Brandon, Kristina, Chad, thank you for sharing your films. Juliette, Kitty, Where Friends Are For, Muse. This is such an amazing program. I'm so excited to be able to host it here and have all these filmmakers come together and experience this together. I'm very excited about it. Thank you all again for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you.
Thank
This is
you.
great.
Looking forward
Thank you
to it.
so
Thank you all
much.
so much. I'll let you know when this is posted.
Okay.
Yay!
I'll be in touch with everybody.
Yeah.
I'm looking
Yay!
forward to that party.
After party. After party.
Thank you all so much. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.